Right. Well, good evening, community board members, staff, members of the public attending YouTube, and welcome to this meeting of the Martinborough Community Board. It's great that we are able to be back to face-to-face meetings, but just a reminder that Omicron is still very active in the community, so we do want to protect the most vulnerable people in our community, including tamariki children and our koe and kaumātua. So we highly recommend that everyone wears their mask throughout the meetings. If you have a mask essential and need to remove your mask for any reason, we request careful social distancing of 2 metres and encourage use of the hand sanitizer at the door. I will just ask if people can remove their masks when they speak. That would just be really helpful to ensure that we get the best audio quality through for the YouTube and for the main art on Zoom. Okay, so the emergency exits for the town hall are clearly indicated. If we do need to evacuate the building, if everyone remembers where they were, use any of the emergency exits and head towards Texas Street and assemble in the playground area. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. Under the red traffic light setting, this meeting is being held both in person and using audio-video technology. All members participating via audio-video conference will count for the purpose of the meeting forum in accordance with Clause 25B of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act 2002. The meeting is being live streamed to Council's YouTube channel. The meeting will also be recorded and, subject to the recording being of suitable quality, will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via the link on Council's website. So extraordinary business. Is there any extraordinary business that needs to be added to the agenda? No. And are there any apologies? No. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare with regards to items on the agenda this evening? Right. Then we'll move on to the acknowledgements and tributes. I actually have a couple I'd like to acknowledge this evening. So the passing of Linda O'Dell-Gorey, who was actually, when I was really young, she was one of the first sort of policewomen that you saw out and about in a uniform. And unfortunately, as well, just very recently, the passing of Jenny Kershaw, who has worked tirelessly actually as a volunteer and looking after elderly to help them remain.
Mike Kershaw's wife.
Yeah.
Did she die?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was sudden.
It was. Yeah. So.
That's sad. Oh.
So I have a tribute to Brian Miller, who who lived down Dublin Street, retired electrician who's been not well, been very infirm for a while, but died a few days ago.
Oh, okay.
Lovely gentleman.
Okay. Did anyone else have anything? No. Okay. Moving on then. We have no public participation advised this evening, which of course leads into having no actions from public participation tonight. So we're straight into our community board minutes from the 24th of February 2022. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Oh, now in the agenda, you'll see it jumps from page 1 over to page 12 is where they pick up again. So we've just got the Hay Farm report has popped in the middle there, pages 2 to 11. But if we could just review the minutes, so they start at page 1 and then continue from page 12. I did have one correction sorry, it's not a correction, it was actually something that I noted when I was reviewing council's meeting from yesterday, and that is that the road naming report that we have on there at section 8.2, page 12 of the agenda, at the bottom from last time. So it's been sort of requested or challenged by Featherston whether or not it should be going through to their community board table. So I actually think we might have even asked the question at the time, but it is going back for verification with the council officers, because there is, just might be some bit of overlap on where it goes, whether it sits within Featherston territory or the Martinborough ward. So once we all know and get some clarification on that, that'll be shared with us, but I did just want you all to note that. Yeah, because obviously that would make any recommendations we make null and void.
It probably is Featherston, right?
Goes up Ocean Beach.
Yeah.
On that side. So interesting. Would be nice clarification. Yeah, Councillor Lena?
The reason that's just needing clarification is because that's actually, that it includes the farm. The farm's very large, and it may actually cross the boundary through to Kahutara, which sits in the Martinborough ward. So we're just not 100% sure, which is why it needs to be looked at, because that may be why it's been coming to the Martinborough table in the past. So just need to verify that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Actually, Madam Chair, I can confirm that it does sit within the Featherston ward.
Oh, it definitely is in the
I
Featherston.
just pulled up on the website our ward map, which I couldn't get yesterday during the council.
No, okay, I think we might just need to, maybe that then could require some checking on other road naming within that space that might have come across this table, and probably needs to ensure it goes to Featherston's as well, just so there's no confusion in the future. Be great. So do I have a mover then to move that the minutes of the Martinborough Community Board meeting held on the 24th of February be confirmed as a true and correct record? Thank you, Aidan. And someone second. Thank you very much, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion is carried. So, information reports from the Chief Executive and staff. So now we go back to page 2 for the paying fund report. Right, do I have a mover to receive the paying fund report? Thank you, Nathan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Colenso. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Okay. All those against, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Okay. So, members, did you have any questions on this report? Aidan?
Through you, Chair. I'll just have to mask off. Just reading through, there's paragraph 2.3 which details the stop exclusion from waterways. Now earlier on, and it states that guidance I think has been sought from GWRC with regards to fencing the waterways off to preclude cattle from those waterways in accordance with legislation. However, there's also a note earlier on stating that Wellington Water have want to use an estate in well, possibly the near future for wastewater discharge. So I'm just wondering as to whether, and Bryce, I don't know whether you could help, as to whether it's worthwhile having a discussion, perhaps with a three-way discussion with Wellington Water, the farmer and council, because I'm wondering as to whether if we spend money fencing all those waterways off and then in a short period of time Wellington Water are going to require a portion of that land for discharge of sewage, that portion that's been fenced off will no longer be grazed for stock, and therefore we would have spent money where money might have been able to be saved.
Yeah, hi, Aidan. So we have had a meeting on Thursday last week with the farmer, his farm manager, and Greater Wellington Regional Council representative, Hamish, Andrew Goodwood. We didn't have Wellington Water there. Now, the resource consent for Wellington Water, I think, is 2030. So we're still quite some time away from that, although they will have to go in there. We had a very good conversation regarding, there's two real main waterways that do need to be fenced off and start to look at now. Sheep is not too much of a problem at this stage, but we believe that there could be a push for that later on with the government. But however, the current lessee does graze cattle on there at times. So it would be a reduction for him. And don't get me wrong, Oliver has been extremely helpful. He was on site and he was, so there's a couple of things we can look at here. If we do fence off some of these waterways, we can actually claim, if we have a 30-metre on average spacing, which back waterway actually gives us that, we can plant that and claim ETS, which gives you a very good revenue going forward. And because basically if we fence off that back section, it is it's not valid for the farm at all. There's only one access point, and that is through the stream. So that's the point. I understand what you're saying, but we're only taking, we contacted Wellington Water because, as you read on the report, we're only doing a year-by-year lease, so we haven't tendered this out because of the fact that Wellington Water didn't want us to give another 3 or 4 year lease. They feel that if we could do it as a 1 year lease, they'd be happy with that on a yearly basis until it's sorted, and that's why we didn't tender it out. The current farmer is very good, and the report shows that, and he's more than happy to do it on a yearly basis. So what we came to in a conclusion was one of the main fences, and we are probably talking 1.4 kilometres of fencing, is to, on one side, put a standard 7-wire fence. You'll have all this coming to the council. We're getting quotes and everything, coming to the community board. We are looking at 1.4 kilometres of fencing and having that as a 7-wire fence. And that stops anything to do with cattle, sheep now, and for longevity of this if the rules change. But that still allows sheep to go into the right-hand corner of Payne Farm while under the current rules. So they'll be able to clean out the waterways and the back paddock. And then if that ever changes, it changes. So Aidan, a very short message on that. I can't give you an answer on, and I don't think council will be able to give you an answer on that either, to be honest. Mr. Mayor, you probably can't answer that either.
I can certainly say that until such time as it's guaranteed that there might be a need for different land, we need to assume that the waterways need to be fenced according to the law. So I would assume that we have to do that as part of a farm management plan, which MPI?
Yeah.
Requirement.
Yes.
And the Ministry for the Environment, but it's Bryce. He doesn't have to fence the sheep under the.
Correct. He does. You're right.
He doesn't have to fence for non-dairy cattle until 2025. So actually, he's is he running dairy cattle?
No.
No. So we were not told that. We were told that any cattle by Greater Wellington representative that was there. Yeah, because the cat doesn't matter if they're dairy or not dairy. That the issue they have with cattle is that they damage the banks and make them wider. So all of a sudden the waterways become wider.
You and I probably need to have a little chat on that, because in the report in 2.3, the consultant says that he's not required to fence until 2025.
Yeah, that's
Non-dairy cattle. So,
Okay.
so we obviously will probably, I think we'll need to go back and clarify the requirements for the farmer. Based on,
if we go to a 2-wire fencing, it will need to be electrified, and that's another cost. If we decide to go 2-wire, you'd have to electrify the 2-wire. That is the rule. That's why we thought part of it we could just chuck a normal 7-wire fence up, not worry about electrification, because then all of a sudden you're looking at solar panels and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it would be a cheaper to electrify, but long term it might be better just to get on with it. Put one 7-wire fence up.
Isn't, Councillor Maynard, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there any reason, what was Wellington Water's argument about the fact that we've always in the past had that 3 to 5 year term, and that they're wanting it to only be per year? What's Wellington Water's reasoning behind that for Payne Farm?
Well, they don't know where they're going with this yet either, and so they just didn't want a long-term lease locked in. That's the only reason, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
The other stream is the paddock on the left-hand side of the recycling, the transfer station. That stream runs straight down the middle. We can get Oliver is reasonably happy not to put cattle in there. Well, that's another discussion with later, but he's more than happy to put sheep in there. So if it becomes a 2-wire down that one, it will need to be electrified. And also, if we keep the distance of the average of 30 meters, we'll be able to plant that out and go through the ETS scheme as well. There is a cost to plant out, obviously, but long term, it's money.
That just brings me up to another point. So earlier on, when and I know it has been some time now, however, we haven't yet used the uptake. When there was wastewater into the river, and they said that they could look at different ways of being Wellington Water. And one of the things that we did talk about was riparian planting and getting something done there for the river. And to date, because that was something that they were fully on board with. And probably even more so now. So just thinking of costings, that cost may not actually even, we may not even need to pay anything for planting. We could probably get Wellington Water, because we didn't do, the community board did not do the uptake, and we were looking at possibly involving some of the youth to help with that as well, because to get them to, with the understanding that that's what Payne Farm's about.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
The other reason, sorry, that we looked at the 7-wire fences, because look, we can put a 2-wire fence there, and if the cattle's not till 2025, 2-wire fence setup and fencing is a lot different than a 7-wire fence. So strainer posts. So you're basically going to be calling back the fences to pull the 2-wire down that you're going to put up and redo a whole 7-wire fence. So if you're going to do it properly, let's do it properly first. But look, we will come back to you once we get all the information at the next community board meeting. Hopefully we'll have it by then from the fencing company, and give you some options and a bit more clarity on it.
That'll be cool. Is it possible, Bryce, to just talk to Wellington Water with regards to that when it comes to the planting along that riverbank?
Oh yeah, we can certainly have a chat to them. Yep.
That'll be cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Wonderful, thank you, Bryce. Now, Mayor Alex, did you have something?
Well, just on that one, if I think the reparation for the overflow went through the board standing committee, so we might need to check there whether they've made a decision regarding the wetland planting along the lake bed or along the river. Sorry.
They did come to Martinborough Community Board as well.
Right. Yeah.
Wellington Water. So it was kind of like a two-pronged.
Yeah.
Because it was Payne Farm. So
the other thing is Regional Council, Bryce, has a fund to assist farms with riparian planting, and I think it is undersubscribed.
And fencing.
And fencing and riparian. So I really, hopefully. we
Not,
might-
sorry, Your Worship, not local government owned farms. That's all right. We've already asked that question.
We have a chat to the chair. And the other one as well is we do need to start, and this is a nightmare, but with Three Waters and the status of the lease once assets are overtaken, what is the status of Paint Farm? Because it cannot be gifted to them. So we did.
Paint Farm is an asset, you mean, for the Martinborough community?
At the moment, any assets used for water will be taken over by the government entities. However, this is not able to be done, so you need to look at the contractual obligation between the water entity and the council with regards to Paint Farm.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a legal nightmare, I think. Litigation.
The wastewater treatment plant might need to be moved.
Yeah.
Nathan?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I'll note that one of the streams goes straight through the rubbish dump. Bryce, there's obviously leach that goes from the rubbish dump.
Yeah,
Through.
so I know where you're going with this, Nathan.
Yeah.
So we have 5 bores in at the recycling that we test every 2 times a year to make sure there isn't any issues with that. They've been fine so far.
Yeah.
And we've been testing it for a long time.
Yeah, two times a year.
Yeah, twice a year we have them tested. Yep. The last test that was done last month, and the other one was done, I think it was October, maybe a bit earlier. 2 of the bores were dry. Yeah.
Right. Because if you get any form of rain from the east, those streams are going to flow straight through there into that, I guess, main sort of stream and then into the river.
I think that's why we test them twice.
Yeah. It's not. I see what you say by you test the bores, but if you're getting a heavy rain event, the water's just going to go straight through, not necessarily penetrate, but like pick up anything on top and take through to the stream to the river.
Well, the landfill's been there a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Greater Wellington would be looking at that. Yeah.
I'm over that.
What's that?
I can guarantee the regional council watching that very closely with eagle eyes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, it's a transfer station as well. We don't actually store there.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Oh, I'd just like to make a comment actually. The farm actually, from the pictures and everything that we've got is, and also the report is quite comprehensive in the past, previously, and I think Pam will probably back me up on this. It took quite a lot to try and get the report, and then and there was a lot of disrepair. So I mean, it really is looking quite good, I must say. So thank you very much to the farmer that's there.
Yeah, and I do apologise. We were late on getting this to you. It was just a miscommunication in my team. So that was done October. In fact, walking over the farm on Thursday, it's in better condition what it is you're seeing in the photos. It's looking really good. So every year, our main farms at the council own will have a report done. That's Greytown and Featherston, so we can keep control of them.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's been a pretty good season though, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's still looking very good. Very tidy.
Any further questions from anyone on the panel? Board?
Madam Chair, would you like to talk about the Payne Farm cottages or garage, or is that somewhere else along there?
Do you mean about the weather event, the tree through the
Tree, yeah.
Yeah, tree through the garage and yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So-
Perfect time.
Yep, that's fine. A quick rundown on that. So the insurance company is controlling this. We've obviously gone through our insurance company. The quotes have come in. I think we've sent it through to you, Mel, and you've had a look at it. So we're just waiting now for them to basically start. The cost, I think, was around 42 plus GST to re-brick, re-roof, new lintel. Then we've also had a quote to remove the 3 microcarpa that are right next to the one that fell. And I think, Madam Chair, you might want to bring that up if you've still got it. It was around 10K. And the company was going to leave the wood on site, so the community board can disperse that wood where they choose.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Bryce. We did all talk about it when we all met at the square as well, but it's good to get this clarified up here. So, Aidan?
Through you, Chair. Bryce, what's the time frame for what's the availability for the company to remove those trees?
As soon as you guys push the button to me. Yeah, the quote's been handed over to you.
And then the time.
Treescape will come straight in.
Right.
Yep.
And then the time frame for the repairs to the shed.
That's what we're waiting to hear. I think they've Duncan and Taylor, I think, are the company that they've chosen. And we're just waiting to hear from the insurance company. Actually runs this now. We don't. We'll probably look at the final outcome of the shed to make sure it's been done properly, but it's all run by the insurance company. Even gathering the quotes, we had no say in that other than which option we wanted. They gave us some options.
And then from, I guess, the financial perspective is that we have a $5,000 excess.
Yes.
So the Payne Farm will need to pay $5,000, but we're looking at about $40,000 plus with the work on that. So it's definitely worth it. Seems and even the tree removal prices too, Bryce. I mean that looked pretty fair as well. I thought those pretty good.
Yeah. So the Treescape actually went on site and looked at them. They are very big trees. You guys probably know that anyway. You've seen them. There's a bit of fencing work to do there before they drop it, but we'll cover that.
Yeah, I thought I had hit go with Trish for that to continue through. But do you need me, Bryce, to pop an email through to
Yes,
you?
please. Yeah, just pop an email through so we get it all done and dusted. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, Trish had been away, so I haven't seen it.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I was okay with that. With that, we talked about it at the square.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, second.
So to dispose of the wood that's coming from those trees, organisations in Martinborough for charitable use, for forward as a donation.
So we have Lions, so we'll go through and do that probably.
So, okay, we need to write a letter to Lions and make contact with them about that.
Yeah. Is it actually it might be worth as well just talking to is it the Anglican Trust of Maycroft and things too, in case they've got a way that it might be that Lions want to do the work and disperse it
Disperse
there
it,
as well, so.
The trees are just going to be ringed, aren't they?
Yeah, that's correct, Michael. Yes.
They need to be
There's work
topped
that
up.
needs to be done, yeah.
So,
We'll do that, we'll look at getting a letter to the Lions.
Yeah.
Anything that mulched, we'll try and keep the mulch for the gardens. We'll
Yeah.
have a chat to the treescape on that.
Yeah, even if there's plenty of it, you know, you're welcome to use it at the cemetery or anywhere, I guess, in Martinborough that needs the mulch, is great.
No, we do that. Like we do that with the arborists now, Madam Chair. They give us a call. Where do you want it? Yep.
Fantastic.
Right.
Are there any more questions with that? Thanks very much, Bryce, for reminding us about that insurance and the fence. Sorry, the fence, the tree, the full wood. So, well, it's good to get that out here. Okay. So we'll move on to page 16 then on the agenda, which is the item 9.2, the income and expenditure report. Do I have a mover to receive the draft income and expenditure statement for the period ending 28th of February 2022? Thank you very much, Councillor Clenso. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Okay, all those against, please raise your hand. Motion is carried. Do I have a mover to also receive the Payne Farm statement of financial performance for the period ending 31 December 2021? Thank you, Aidan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, please raise your hand. And the motion is carried. Members, are there any questions on this report?
Madam Chair, I did.
Yes, Councillor.
When you're coming down to the commitments on page 1 of the report, or so that's the community board income and expenditure page. We've got on there the kids need dads, which were the Father's Day bowling event. Is that actually taken? Because that was in 2020.
Yeah, he came and spoke to us, didn't he? He actually came and presented about
But
it.
he can't have uplifted the money because it's still sitting as a commitment, and so is and then there's the balance of the money from the Memorial Gate, and I'm suggesting that both of those get put back into the grant funding if they haven't been uplifted.
So that's the $14.60 meant from the Memorial Day.
There's the $14.60 and the $200 for kids
Kids
needs
needs
dads, yeah. And the other thing we need to look at is the garden, community garden, going to uplift the $1,800 that's sitting there.
Yeah.
Maybe a discussion with them as to what they would like to do.
Didn't they come and speak to us and say that they weren't needing the water tank?
They definitely didn't.
Well, then the water tank funding could also come back in because that's also from 2020, so.
Yeah, for when it's from 2020.
there was talk that they're not actually being secure in that.
That's right. We were actually looking, the community gardens, the point we were at was that
They were going
we were looking for alternative land for them to use. Bryce, we originally came back about the some of the land behind the pensioner flats and housing, but then you wanted to look at an alternative to that because of leaving that land for the potential of expansion of housing. Have I got that right? Sorry, Bryce.
Yeah, you're quite correct, Madam Chair.
Okay,
So are they going to want, is the community garden also going to want the $800 that's set aside there, or are they not using that as well?
I'll go back and check with them. I'll have a talk to them. Tomorrow.
It was Claire, wasn't it? Claire Fleming.
Yeah. But just as well about the Well, they definitely still need some more land. Things, if we can keep looking for that for them, Bryce, is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay to keep looking, but if you just quickly think what's around in Martinborough that we own, you've got the park behind Whakakauaka, you've got Concerting Park, you've got Roberts Road where the dog park is. I'm just trying to think, you've got the other reserves, but the football grounds, I really don't know what else.
What about, is there still that land in behind, I guess there was, by the cemetery there? There used to be some council land.
Yeah, no, we still own that. We currently have a lease on that. We're just negotiating a lease on that again, extending it. But yes, there is an option. There is, although we, in about a year's time, I going on what's happening in the cemetery space, and that's not deaths or anything like that. It's just people reserving plots, etc., etc. We will be moving into that land within the next 12 months, I suspect, as well. Yeah, but yeah, there is an option there down the back.
On that, I think, if I remember correctly, the comments from the community garden were that if they could have it close to town is much better because it encourages community participation, even where they are as a bit out of town. So,
Yeah,
that's why I thought at the time.
We receive some land, I think, at the next community board meeting, and we can run through it.
yeah, because I mean, even potentially anything on the Payne farm or anything. I know, again, we're talking about way outside of town, but if, at the end of the day, if it comes down to where there is available.
Yeah, that's why I thought the senior housing area, even in the corner somewhere there would be perfect, because the senior housing residents would become the guardians.
No, that would be perfect, really.
And look, there still could possibly be a space there. You just don't know at this stage.
Okay.
Well, let's make that an action then, to get a report and have a look at what's available and bring it to the next meeting.
There is an open action on this. It's been open since I think 2020, but I can update that action if that's okay, Councillor Maynard.
Yes.
And
People notice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, I didn't see that at all. It was part, but it actually has been resolved. So,
yeah. So did you want to open that one again?
Yes,
Add an
please.
update?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Finally.
that would be great. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it's just a question, if I may. Did we pay out for the Kahitara Whole Society High Tea and Evening Ball? Because I don't think that went ahead because of COVID.
I don't know. These were the grants from last year. Do we? They're not showing up as.
I'm quite sure it was cancelled.
Are we able to have a look into that to find the?
What was cancelled?
What grant was it?
Kahitara 150-year celebration. 100-year celebration, sorry.
I followed up with them for an accountability form quite a few months ago, and they said that the date had been postponed due to COVID, but I believe that the event still ran or was running, but I can clarify with them once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so look, maybe we just need an update on that just to find out exactly what's happening with that, and if they have they taken the money or?
Yeah, also that's.
It's been paid out, right?
It has been paid out, yeah.
But there's some comments in the end, and the people have to send that form back in again. There's some comments under that. The other thing is on that report, when you come down to the Payne Farm statement, oh no, that's all right. I was going to say there's the overhead costs in there, which amount to 25, about 34,000. The last three items on there.
Yeah. Yep. So you were just wanting to know about what those were?
I think that, can I ask Bryce?
Oh, yeah,
Bryce,
Yes, yes.
Ask on the Payne Farm statement, the.
Payne Farm, yeah.
Yeah. When you get down, you've got the overheads,
Yep.
the rate, there are obviously the rates, and then, the personal cost. Is that all to do with all the work you've done on the house and, in the grounds?
It's just the cost of doing it. It's the finance team's hours. It's our hours. It's property management costs. Basically, that's what it's for. Every building or asset that we have has overhead allocations. Yep.
Okay, thanks. So I just wanted to make sure that that's what it was. Huh?
Yeah.
So Bryce, sorry, just so that's every year, I guess there would be that expectation then. Do you mean that that's an ongoing charge?
Yes.
That comes
Yeah,
through?
it's for council doing business for the Payne Farm. It pays for everything that we do in the background.
Yeah.
Every asset has it allocated.
Thank you.
More than happy for you guys to take over Payne Farm. It would be awesome.
Thank you, Bryce. Yeah.
Society, they said that the event has been postponed until the 18th and 19th of March 2022. But they still have 1 year from the date that the grant was issued to use the funds before they're required to provide an update. So I'm assuming that that event did go ahead on the 18th and 19th of March, which is why it is now due. Okay.
Thank you very much for that, Karen. Does anyone have any further questions on the income and expenditure report for the Payne Farm?
Oh, through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Bryce, so the heat pumps have all been installed into, was it the house or the college at Payne Farm? That's all squared
Sorry,
away.
I'm on mute. Sorry, Aidan. Yes, yeah, no, that's all good. The Payne Farm's in good condition. We've got another look at I think it's just after Easter. We've got another review going in there. Yep. I believe the tenants are very happy.
Good. Okay, fantastic. We'll now move on to item 9.3 of which is the action items report. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Nathan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cleese.
What page is that?
All those in favour, please raise your hand.
25.
And all those against, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion is carried. Members, are there any updates or questions you'd like to ask in relation to any of the open action items? Yeah. Actually, so there is the one there about Payne Farm, and again, it's actually coming down to, I guess, those allocations and that spending. It's just been, so on the 8th of December 2020, it's got all of the things that will be a part of the information that we receive, but then it hasn't moved again until the update from a week ago that officers will now factor this review and to be completed by the 30th of June 2022.
Well, then that's where it's at. Like I'd say, so they're saying that they're factoring in the review, then we'll have it completed by the 30th of June.
I think it's low hanging fruit, to be honest. I know everything's important, but that's, you know, that's down there, so they'll get to it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce. Oh, and if I can just update around the Rimahanga roads, as well, we've, Stephen's been in touch and to organise a meeting with him and Tim for us to catch up. And what I'm hoping is that.
What number is that, Mel?
Is it? No. What number is it? Sorry, right, the numbers aren't on my page. 036. Okay, 036.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it's 2 under that as well. It's about requesting a meeting with officers to review road safety concerns in the district. So what I was hoping is that there might be the potential for us to talk about both of those things with you and Tim, Stephen, when we get together. And
Have you set a date?
no, we were looking at, I think a Friday was going to be easiest for Aidan from the responses that I received back. So I think it is, what's the earliest you can do on a Friday?
I can't remember what was the timings on that.
Oh, it was sort of from 3:30.
Yeah, probably 3:30 would be fine by me.
3:30.
Yeah.
And then will they come and present to the community board, because that's what the action item is. Invite those of Rimahanga roads, between South Wairarapa and Carterton District Councils to present to the board on the roading program.
Yeah.
For road maintenance across the district, but well, not across the district, across the Martinborough board.
Yeah.
So that's not quite right, but we really are only wanting to know about the Martinborough ward. We're not.
No, and that's my question, is whether or not that meeting that we're going to have is actually going to provide us with the information and questions that we have detailed in there, as well as talking about the safety concerns.
I mean, we're in your hands, Madam Chair. We can either have we can have Tim and the team come here and do a presentation, and then we can set an agenda up for that, and you can talk about safety, talk about roads, road maintenance, the work program.
Yeah.
Or I suppose we can meet on a Friday, and we can.
I think it'd be quite good if we could actually sort of sit down and have that sit down on a Friday.
Yep.
And give you an idea too around what the priorities are, and then if you could present around, once he knows exactly what that information is, that we're.
I'm pretty keen to have I really like the idea of an informal meeting, because then we can talk about our work program and the pressures that we're under, and sort of give you some information from our perspective as well, which I think would be valuable. So it'd be a two-way thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so should we retain action 316 and have Bryce and perhaps someone from the Carterton side even come in and present to the board formally? Formally,
like once, and again, so that once it's on, and it's on what we all agree, I guess the priorities for the board would be really great.
Yeah.
Sounds all right.
So workshop first.
Yeah.
Informal workshop first, and then.
Yeah, although I just would be cautious about the expectation for that informal meeting. You won't be able to set priorities for us.
No, but
we'll be able to understand your priorities.
Yes, exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah.
That sounds
That'd be great.
Okay, well, let me just.
And sorry, Stephen, if it sounds like pressure. It's just I noticed that this was, it was pushed back in September last year. So it's not. I don't want you to feel pushed as such, but we have been waiting some time. So
yeah,
that's all it is. We're not, and it's like we don't mind being patient, but we don't want it to go on and on and on. That's all.
Yeah, perfect. I guess. Should we come back and finalise the date for that? I'm just next Friday. Next Friday is Good Friday, so then be looking at Friday following, going into school-wise.
Oh, we just bounce idea dates on the calendar.
Is that all right if we just?
Next the soonest Friday after we Easter.
Yeah.
Play as quickly as we can.
As we can, and we'll nail down, so hopefully still we've got something to talk about, and, yeah, no, that sounds great at our next meeting.
So, excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
While we're talking about roading, Stefan, can we discuss perhaps in the officer's report about Hangar and other roading issues?
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Sure. No problem.
Could I, Madam Chair, could I just bring up 731, please? And the reason why I want to bring that up is because the actual sign up there's been graffitied on now. So I'm just wondering how we're going with it, Nath. That's in the historical information sign at Bidwell's Cutting.
Yeah. Oh, through you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I'll
I have to get.
I've had this come back from Andy Shaw.
Wow.
This is his draft. So there's a few more things for him to work on, but that's the general what he's looking at this stage. So I think looking at it, he's done a pretty good job so far. Yeah,
That's fantastic. Yeah. Just one question, has it been run through the Māori Standing Committee as well?
No,
not yet. No, this is
For the expert.
yeah.
There are some really, specific things for Hauriki Marae, around Ngā Waka Kupe and things as well. So we do want to make sure that goes through to them, but we probably want to have something.
And Kohanui.
Kohinu
Yeah,
Marae has on
yeah,
there as well, so,
yeah.
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Mm,
Really, really good.
yeah. And he's a local guy doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the local guy doing it, exactly, the work's all being done here too, so.
yeah.
So then should that be moved now to go through to the next Māori Standing Committee meeting, and perhaps
I don't think
Nathan
it's-
or Mel to present?
Mm.
No, it's not ready yet, but what is it that you need, or that that you're looking for from them, because to get to the final product? So
I don't know, are we at the point that we're wanting wording?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That'll be
It'd be
Can I
terrible
just-
if you got to the final draft and then they came up with a couple of changes and then
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
we're at the final draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll
These
It'll
Richard,
be-
they'll be responsible, if you like, for completing
it will be dispersed to the right people
Yeah.
for the
before anything gets
for
done.
the final term, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
so are you happy with that then as an action?
Yeah, to go through some things done.
And just explain, what you might like from each of the places, because it may be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we do it, I'll try and have a talk to some Ngāti Hikuita as well, and just make sure we've got the everything just right from their perspective before we take it to the Māori Standing Committee meeting as well, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I'll take care of that, so it can go on for me.
Through Madam Chair, can
Yeah.
we have a closer look at that after the meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
I
yeah,
won't roll it up, we'll just leave it out.
Just
yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
Put a plan on it.
yeah. So we're progressing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some really great progress, it's really, really nice.
Can we, Madam Chair, are we able to remove the graffiti off the one that's up at the cutting at the moment, or is it better to take the whole thing down?
I actually think it might be better to take, there's nothing on there at the moment except graffiti,
Okay,
so
can we
it's
ask Bryce?
completely gone. But Bryce, are we able to get the sign that stands up at the top of the cutting removed?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I can organise that.
Yeah, I think it probably just be better to do that for right now until we get something new to go up there, if it's still covered in graffiti and stuff.
Consider it done. Thanks.
Thanks, Bryce. Oh, but one of there is also that it's been actioned or, that would do to the risk assessment. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, so it's been written that it's action, but it's because they're going to pick up the detail of the risk assessment as part of a coastal reserves review, which will be scheduled in forthcoming policy reviews. Do we know anything about when or what that actually looks like? So this is around timelines for a report on the flooding risks of all of the South Wairarapa camping grounds. So that's we'd asked for a timeline through the chief executive for a report on the flooding risks of all of our campgrounds, and it's now been marked as action. So I'm just asking this risk assessment and coastal reserves review that's coming up. Does anyone know when that's happening?
No, I'm sorry, I don't, so I'll have to take that back.
If we could find out, what I don't want is just for it to get too much slippage, and just when we've actually got some kind of quite good momentum and actions and things already, sorted, that'd be great. Thanks, Stephen. So if we could just, I guess, reopen that until we have some more information, would be really good, just so it doesn't get lost. Right, does anyone else have anything? No?
Through you, Madam Chair, not quite sure if this fits or not, but in regard to the tree group, I've just noticed that the two councillors might be able to help me out here. That the notable tree register for Martinborough, that none of the oak trees on the Hangar Park behind Horikaka are actually on the register.
Oh, no. That must be missed.
I mean, I request
Yeah, as I say, I'm not sure if
what is the process for having a tree? What is the process for having a tree put onto the historical tree register? And how do we assess that?
Aren't those, I don't know if they're historical, aren't those the oaks from
That have to be notable trees, right?
They have to be notable trees.
So it may be, but if anyone can request, I think, a tree be placed on that register.
Yeah.
And then it goes onto a list, and then
They all
district plan
stand on the notable
is-
register though, on the Hangar.
it's then updated annually
Yeah.
at council. So if anyone's got any questions, then or requests, then we just do it.
And what does that mean if they're on that?
They can't be cut down. They need to be maintained.
They can't be cut down?
They need resource consent.
Not without a
Resource consent.
Yeah, they need a resource, but they can. be
They
cut
can,
down.
yeah, if they don't.
The trees in Greytown that were cut down.
Yeah, if they're deemed dangerous, they can be cut down under the resource consent.
You've got very quiet for us.
Oh, have I? Oh, hold on, might be more mic. How's that? There you go. Yeah, so resource consents for notable trees, you can do minor trimming and stuff on them, but any major work on a tree, whether you're chopping it down or taking severe limbs, you require, or you're working under the drip line of a notable tree, you require a resource consent.
So how do we go about as notable trees?
Yeah.
Okay, an application will need to be put into the planning team. They control the notable tree register. I believe, oh no, I won't say that. Yeah, no, I would, if you're keen on those to go on the notable tree, you probably need to do it now, because I think did they present something to council?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's on now. So the next update would then update that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flick James.
Sorry.
An email and
sorry, I'm just wondering whose responsibility it is. Is it because like the trees in the square, the trees, so you're talking about the ones out by Wharekaka, is that, is that on council land?
Does it have to be anybody to respond there?
Madam Chair.
A member of the public?
Can be anyone.
Sorry,
Anyone.
excuse me,
On private land.
sorry, councillor Queensland.
Madam Chair, could I just recommend that we write to either Mr James Whitlam or to Group Manager Russell O'Leary and asking them if the trees at the park, at the Hangar Park and the ones on the Wairikaka property are in the notable tree register, and if not, could that please be included or investigated to include?
Yeah.
And I think that's the easiest way of handling it, then you'll get a response to the letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just naturally thought that they would have been on there.
I know that they were on a notable tree register. I don't know how they would be removed and then.
I wasn't aware that they weren't on it either, but you are correct, they're not on it.
Yeah,
So I think
Let's move to have a moment.
that's a problem when you don't, yeah.
every 3 years, I think we do public submissions as well, on what need to, but I think that's a driver to the community and the community board to come up with what trees we now, like they've changed and now what they deem notable.
Do we get advised if any that are notable are coming off the register?
Generally, they're cut down.
Yeah.
I'm not there anymore.
Surprise!
Well, maybe moving forward, could we get an agenda or put into the agenda of the trees that are on in our ward that are on the notable register, maybe?
Get a list of them.
Sorry, I could just raise another thing about trees in general. We are doing a program of work, and Nathan has seen a draft of what we're doing. So you'll be able to look at every tree and on council property and tell when the last bit of maintenance was done, whether it's a notable tree, how old it is, how much carbon it's releasing, how much stormwater and rainwater it's holding. So that's coming. We're hoping to have something for you by the end of July. It's taking a while because we have a lot of trees. We've done 5 parks so far in the district. So we're slowly working through it, and eventually it'll be available to the public to go onto our website and look as well. So we are working on something in the background on this.
So, sorry, Boris, so they were the trees in the parks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do private. Notable trees are all on our GIS. They are there to be seen on the website. You can see them on our website, on our mapping system.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So the Hangar Park trees, have they been assessed for what you've
Yes.
they have been, right?
Yep. Yeah, they have.
But they're not on the register.
No. We basically put a value to the trees as well at the same time. So we've been working with Paper Street is the company that we're working with. We've been gathering a hell of a lot of, I think we're up to about draft number 30. We just keep going because there's such a lot of detail in trees. It's quite amazing, but they are important.
Yeah.
I think though it is really important though that the public and we constantly update that, because I do know of one tree that was cut down in Greytown that was massive and it was really historic, but it had never been put on and it just slipped under the radar to allow small subdivision. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, if we can talk to James and Russell and get.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk?
Yeah, and I'll copy it. Right? If you want to put something through,
Okay.
either which way.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Did anyone have any more questions or any additions for the action items? Well, then we'll move on to page 27 of the agenda, which is the financial assistance and accountability report. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Councillor Cleanzone. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great. All those against, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Members, were there any updates or questions that you'd like to ask about this report?
Hi, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment. I think it's very disappointing that there are so many people who've received money from the community board that haven't submitted an accountability form yet. That is quite disappointing.
And Madam Chair, if I could also comment, each one of those follow-ups cost the council money. You know, it's time to be ringing or emailing to try and find out. It's just totally unacceptable. I'm actually noticing this in other community boards as well in their follow-up. It's not uncommon, but it's very disappointing.
What is the next step with these? So does somebody need to contact them individually to find out if they're...
If you just take a look at that copy there. It will show the number of times that they have been directly followed up individually.
Yeah.
So there are 3 that I'm no longer following that, just because it has been several years and but they remain on the list as they're not eligible for another council administered grant until their accountability form for their previous grant is returned.
Okay.
So that's why those are sitting there. And the other ones are just a matter of when I get a chance, I will shoot off some emails, but they have all been contacted individually.
The penalty for not filling in an accountability reform is just not to be given any more funds. They aren't required to pay the money back. It's not a condition.
That's not in the policy, no.
No. But it would be, yeah, I think you have to actually have a separate position.
So the youth trust has been given 500 and the event was cancelled, correct? That's the last one on the list.
The fireworks event?
Yeah.
And an email has been sent asking for those funds to be returned on, I believe, 2 occasions.
Yeah.
So those funds will be coming back.
Okay.
I can follow up.
Yeah.
Again, I'll add that to my.
Sorry.
Councillor Maynard?
So I'm just so this is all of this has been has had uptake. So all of these funds have gone out.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So but the first 2, no, 3, the first 3 were not. That's just been retained for records.
We've given up.
So who are we? So we've got the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Which they stopped last year. So while they were definitely still active in 2020, as of early 21, they were no longer able to continue to promote.
I think they shut down over COVID, didn't they? Right. And it went to the primary school. breakfast club went to the primary school, but then
Yeah.
I think the primary school stopped doing it repair. So
Yeah,
the Anglican church is no longer involved.
they didn't have any, they didn't have sufficient support, yeah. That's really sad.
If they were still going in the 2020 and under the auspices of, just for example, the Anglican Church, yeah, we should be able to follow that up through the office of the Anglican Church.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so we should still be able to get an accountability form.
Yeah.
Is that what we're after?
Yeah.
And then the same with Meerkat. So I remember they came and spoke, didn't they? They came and actually gave a rundown, but I wonder why that is. Did that go through? Did the 2020 Martinborough Christmas parade go through?
No,
It
no.
didn't. Okay. So the fund should be coming back.
You would think, but
yeah,
But 2020 did.
Did it go through?
2020. Is that the right date? Is that, shouldn't?
They didn't come to us last year. So it must be the right date. So they came in for 2020.
and
But-
they came updated last year. Didn't they come and talk to us last year though about the?
Yeah, so last year's Christmas break did go.
Yeah.
no,
So 2020 did.
Yeah.
But 2020 did.
But no, so did 2020 go, did that happen? I don't know if it did.
Yes, it did.
So there was a Christmas parade in 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's really not like them to not have, because every year they come and talk to it as well. And I mean, I understand that. So they didn't do one last year, but for 21, but 2020, yeah, I don't know.
We'll follow up and make sure that they get them filled out if they. Yeah.
So one.
I think what we're probably trying to say, Katie, is if you need some help with that, we have enough knowledge within the community to be able to assist. Trained or following it up.
Absolutely. But do come, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, if you're able to perhaps send an email or perhaps give us the contact details that you've got for those organisations, if you send that out to us all as a community board members, then perhaps we can pick some of those names and contact those people personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I guess
we'll
We
find that
can
out.
help that out.
if we go back through the agendas, we should be able to find information for those.
Those grants.
In the grant.
Right there, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's very, very hard with the ones from 15, 17, one from 2015, one from 2017, one from 2018, because that's, yeah.
Well, I think Katie's already made that decision that they are that old, no longer trying, but I think the other ones that are a bit more
Recent.
recent,
Yeah.
we could try and knock those on the head and deal with those, resolve that.
So just with the procedure when people are coming for grants, Katie, do you check this accountability list just to see, because so that way we're aware before they come if they haven't actually followed procedure?
Yeah, so each grant application will be assessed for their eligibility, and that would include any outstanding grant forms.
Right.
So include if they have had a council administered grant for the same event for the previous or for the same financial year. So I do a screen to make sure that all of those are in place.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a couple here that I see that I know, you know, we've seen a few times. So, I mean, it's for them not to do it now. Funny old last few years, you know, people coming and going, and with especially with COVID. So I'm not too phased, but I just But there are names here that I think if we do see when with the next grant round or anything like that, grant funding round, if it could maybe just be raised in the report prior to us making any decisions, so that way we know. It's that's always good just to.
Madam Chair, could we look at, before we do the next round of grants, before anyone takes those application forms, maybe having a look at the covering note that goes with those application forms that says that they have to put an accountability form in. Can we perhaps add the wording that if no accountability form is received, we could student fund those monies to the community board?
Yeah, I think that would have to go to a request for the a revision of the grants policy. Yeah, so that go to Amanda to, could you look at the viability of doing this? Yeah.
I think the grants policy was recently reviewed, but it is part of the policy review that we're doing at the moment. And I think it is one that's up for review again, because there are some things that could probably use a little bit of tweaking. So I can look to that to be included when it comes up.
Yeah, that would be really good. I think that just makes it really clear.
And also for all, you know, like that will really help, I think, all the community boards.
I thought that was a really nice, just, you know, and that there was a really nice letter to receive from Martinborough. Yes, around there. They're operating under MOU now. Is that right now, Alex?
Yes, a 3-year. It was agreed.
Okay, were there any other updates or questions about that report? Okay, well then we'll move on to item 9.5, the officers' report. Do I have a mover to receive the officers' report? Thank you, Aidan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour? Oh, yes, please raise your hand. Okay, all those against, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion is carried. Any questions on the officers' report? That's okay.
Is there anything in this report, Stefan, that you think we need to, with regards to Martinborough, that, I mean, this is for the district, so I'm just, is there anything in this report that you want to bring to Martinborough Community Board's attention?
Oh, I mean, which reports? I mean, there's 80 pages of reports there. Are we talking about all of the reports?
Oh, no, really, it's just if there's anything in particular. I've had a look through myself. I didn't have any questions around it. The only thing was taking the opportunity really to find out more since roading and amenities is under here is about Hangar Road.
Yep.
If we could get an update, yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Sam, do you want to give an update on Hangar?
Hi, John. Yes, popped in there. Hi, John.
Good afternoon or evening. Yeah, the digger's back on site this week doing the drains across the face. And that will allow us to control any runoff from the high land in the dam. And that's critical to help stabilise the whole face. And while the digger's there, we will push in the fence lines to help the fencing contractors and make their life a little bit easier. And also it's a chance to really just get up there and looking at a lot of the land while the digger's there and scratch out the proposed area for the dam, so we can just funnel that water into it. And now that the trees have come off the face, while the digger's there, we can cut some of that batter at the road back to a more natural lie, so it'll help stable the face above the road. Oops. Other phone's ringing. Also, what was I going to say? We've had another walk over the site with the regional council, just to confirm the supply of poles ready for planting in mid to early winter, and we've sourced them and locked those in for supply, and they are ready to go immediately after the fence is up. And it's been reasonably stable over the last well, since February, since the big rains in February. So yeah, the work we're going to do is just will be preventative going forward.
Yeah, Aidan.
Through you, Chair. So how's progress going in accordance with the time span or time frame that was put together in the plan that was presented to the community end of last year?
Yeah, there's been a slight lag due to weather and COVID, but we have got resource ready to go there, and they'll be there to do the digger work until they're finished.
Aidan, just to sort of build on that, COVID has really impacted our teams. We had, at one point we had 2 people down in the engineering team, and we had 6 people down in Fulton Hogan, and the engineer that was running the Hangar project was down in Greater Wellington Regional Council all at the same time. And it was very, very difficult to get any work done for a while there. It's starting to normalise now, as we've just had people who have had the virus coming back into work in the past couple of days. They're still not quite 100%, but they're at work. The other thing is that the cyclone Dovey in the middle of February really knocked us to 6. It takes a long time to recover from that and get all of the emergency work done and the additional work done. It has delayed us. It's delayed Hangar, and unfortunately it's also delayed one of my favourite projects, which is the Eco Reef. But we're trying to catch up, and the team is really focused on Hangar now, trying to catch up that time on the work program, and we're providing regular communication with customers and residents through our project page on the website and through social media.
There's no more emails going out to everybody about?
Yeah, we do that too. We send out.
I haven't been receiving any of them, any of the updates, I think, on Hangar for.
Yeah. Oh, right. No, I think Shell's still sending out residents. Well, I think you check your address.
I think there was a complaint of too many emails.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah. No, not from
That's
that.
There was that email earlier on this week, I think, from one of the residents out at Hangar, and who raised issues and concerns, and then I was quite surprised last night to see the digger arrive up there at the end of yesterday. But yeah, that's great. That's some work. So would it be fair to say that the program's 2 weeks or a month behind or 2 months behind that time frame that you spoke about at the meeting out there at the Hangar Hall?
Somewhere we're sort of 3 weeks back, aren't we? If we've got the planting line sorted out and we've sourced the trees to plant, we've got the new location of the dam scoped. Now we've got the drone footage done and analysed that. Now it's a matter of, you know, sourcing water supply and engineering that dam. The road, I mean, remember the road has remained open to all traffic throughout. And so I did receive that email from a resident, which I haven't yet had the opportunity to respond to, saying there's been no progress is not correct. You know, there has been progress, but it hasn't been as fast as we wanted it. I'd say we're probably 3 weeks behind, but I'd have to have a good look at the plan before I was sure that was right.
And then there were some requirements from the Ministry of Education as to what needed to occur for the school bus to continue all the way up to the Hangar Hall. That work will all be done at the same time with alongside the existing work plan.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I mean, it confounds me, and Tim, you've probably got a view, but it confounds me how a milk tanker or a massive stock truck can safely travel through that road, but a school bus can't.
So yeah,
A smaller school bus.
Yeah.
Reduce the size of the
Yeah. So and we had the person come up on site, and we showed them the road, which is being used by all traffic.
Yeah, I certainly understand that, but I mean, the fact that they'll put requirements in there that for things to occur before the buses will go all the way through. I mean, until that sort of work is carried out, there's still an impact on
Absolutely,
residents out there for their school children.
So are we working alongside Minnie on that?
Yeah, all the signs that they required have been ordered. So it's just a normal supply chain issue at the moment. So when they arrive, they'll go up.
Great, thanks. Thanks for that, Steph.
Councillor Maynard?
Just to clarify, just to finish that off, I know that it seems that it's coming just from one person, but it's actually not, because that person is writing on behalf of the Hanakura residents. So I just want that to be really quite clear as well. That's not just one person saying it, that's actually the person who's been chosen to speak on behalf of Hanakura residents. So yeah, it's we've just been talking about one resident, but it's actually not. She's speaking on behalf of a lot of the Hanakura residents that have been concerned, and so any information, I guess, that we can get them, and what you say is completely understandable. Don't get me wrong. So it's just letting them know. They'd rather know if work's not progressing, and you know we know what Cyclone Dovey did, but they're just a small community who it's impacting their community, and not necessarily understanding what it meant for our whole roading team and everything. So it's putting it out there. They're human. They'll understand. Yeah, they'll understand. They are human. So.
Yeah, I guess an email, sorry, through Madam Chair, to say that, there was a handful of people down with COVID. Is good.
So it might be a delay of that. So.
Yeah, good communication with them. Just let them know that no one's forgotten them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what did you say? 13 staff across 2 sites? That's massive, and that's 7 days off. for them all, you know, like, so a week off, so that's massive. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the environment that we're living in.
Yeah.
And I think we're also fighting the demand regionally wide for resources. It's very tough, and certainly it's easy to say we get a local person to come and help us, but we're working around pretty stringent and strict health and safety requirements under our contractors.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
We'll get some comms out with an update. Yeah, we do our regular monthly updates on the project page on the website, and we do our residents email, but what I'm hearing is probably would be good to get an update out faster after this meeting.
We were just wondering as to whether a monthly email might be too infrequent. I mean, if these work is going to kick off soon, whether it could be even 2 weeks perhaps.
Yeah, I've got to kind of measure it with you know, a very overburdened comms team that's communicating with the community on a massive range of issues. So you know, I've got to balance that.
Madam Chair, sorry to talk again, but I'm just wondering if just in the report on the amenity side of things with the swimming pools, I would like to point out that the murals that have been put up in Greytown have been a huge success. We've had a lot of comments. Now, these were purchased by the Greytown beautification money. So if you do struggle to find somewhere to put it, you know, we could look at some murals and that in the Martinborough pool on the toilet walls, etc. Something to brighten the place up. But as I say, these have been extremely good. And another point, there's been a lot of vocal stuff written about the barbecues. The barbecues in the 3 pools have been a success. We are constantly having to clean, and we put extra rubbish bins in place because families are using them, and that's exactly what they wanted in the long-term plan. And so I'd just like to point that out too, because we're quite pleased that they have been yes, they're expensive, but that's public barbecues, public material, and that's what the costs are. So, but I'd certainly recommend if you were struggling on anything for beautification, these murals have been very successful in the Greytown area. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Bryce. Hey, Bryce, we were looking at or had asked about what the capability may be to have barbecues out at Tora. I think was the conversation when it came through, was one of the things. Did we ever get costs and information about, you know, the capability of the barbecues there?
Well, I can't. You obviously know the barbecues are $10,000 each. That's what they cost. That's what they are. The issue we have out in the is just making sure that they're secure and not vandalized. That's a lot of money sitting there. They will have gas bottles in them because there's no way we can get power to where we're going to look at putting these. And then you've got the ongoing costs of traveling out there to clean them, which is quite substantial. So we haven't really investigated into that. We can if you like, but I'd say, you know, we'd have to really look at the costs on the benefits of and the costs for it.
That already gives us, you know, something that we can sort of share back.
The Freedom Campers will be the ones that will be using them.
Yeah. Yep.
Which don't really relate to Wairarapa. But anyway, I can give you something if you like, just a very quick email on what we think. I'll have to check with my contractors.
Yep, that'd be great. Thank you very much for that, Bryce.
Okay.
Were there any other questions anyone had or comments around the
Bill, could you just make a note as well, when Bryce gives you that information, to pass it on to Jenny?
Yes.
Because it was Jenny that brought up about it, which is what the follow-up's about. So, yeah, to Jenny Boyne.
Thank you very much, Councillor May.
May I just make a really quick comment as well? The reports for the attendance of the pools actually within all 3 towns is pretty awesome.
Great.
And it's definitely showing, you know, like how popular it is over those summer months, and not just with children either.
No.
So absolutely fantastic to see. Thank you, Bryce.
No, you'll have the final report in the next. I've just written the next asset and service report, which has got the overall for the season. You'll be
cool.
shocked how many people went to the swimming pools, considering it was quite a wet summer.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you just drive past there, you know, like everyone does over summer, and it was packed.
Free, free, yeah.
Yes.
Has it always been free?
What did you find out? Did you hear much about the pools and the usage?
Not really. I haven't been there in ages. But no, I think they're a great asset to be, especially because they're free now. I think it is meaning more people are attending them, and I think the barbecues are also a great asset to have there to encourage families to be down there. I think it's a great place to spend some time.
Yeah. Thanks. Good morning. Judy, does anyone have anything?
The rates, I was just trying to find out what's the agenda.
110.
Yeah, I haven't got it.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah. Is there anyone that can talk to us about the outstanding rates?
It's not my area, but what would you like to know?
We'd been informed at the last meeting that it was more due to the rollover of the direct debits, I think it was, but like in this graph here, it's showing that there's quite a big increase in unpaid rates. It's increased 40% from the same time last year. Then on page 111.
Yeah, 66%.
Some of the rates, it depends on the phasing of payments. That's part of it. And there is actually less properties than last year.
So are you inquiring about why the number is increasing?
Well, yeah. It's quite alarming for it to go from 390,000 to 555,000. obviously the rural is a lot higher because they pay quite a lot more than an urban property would.
Sorry, I can take that back and try and find an answer.
Yeah.
Reason for the large rate increase, did it come up far?
It might be better to have Katrina or Charlie just give a more specific, even Martinborough focused analysis of rates and arrears and numbers versus bankruptcies versus deaths. You know, there are lots of reasons why rates might be, and they've itemised them there. The key point there is I think there's one property in Martinborough in arrears, but the breakdown of the rural would be interesting as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think too, Mayor Alex, that when somebody's on a, they've decided to put their rates on a repayment program, that always shows as arrears because they'll catch up by the 30th of June, but just as it goes through the process.
It is, but that only accounts for 7% of what Nathan's talking about. So I think some clarification on the Martinborough ward might be useful for you, and I'm sure if Charlie can, you know, Katrina has resigned, but I'd certainly request this for clarity.
Yeah, I think we had actually had an action, and one in our action items, we had asked for a bit more of a breakdown, but it had said that these documents, that we were receiving what has gone to the FAR.
They're a lot more, yes they are, they're a lot more detailed than they would have been a year ago. You've got to admit that they're being reported in different formats, and so it's that balance between dollar value and an increased dollar value versus number of properties with the rural. Yeah, I think you just want a bit more analysis on that.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, if we could get them to follow through with that, would be really wonderful.
I'm sure Charlie won't mind.
Yeah. So we'll just put through that request, I guess, and get the information back. Does it need to go on as an action or no? Just something that can just be sent through and.
It was an action from the previous meeting.
Okay.
Check and see what the response was, but it was closed because
it was the FAR.
I think we construed that action as making sure we provided the same information as FAR.
Yeah.
But you're looking for more detailed analysis. So.
What you can do prior to the next community board meeting is you have a standing invitation to attend any of the committee meetings.
Yes.
As chair, to possibly when the CFO and staff are there, then you can drill down specific questions inside FAR.
Yep.
You're more than happy to, you're welcome to do that.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, well, so did anyone have any more questions about that before we move on? Okay, we'll now move on to item 11.1, which is page 113, I guess, of the agenda, which is the chair report.
This is the important one.
Yes. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Nathan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ada. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion is carried. Great. So I think we're just going to take this off right here. I'm not sure who's all attending. So as of immediately following our last community board meeting, I think you'll remember there was some confusion over council's annual plan and whether the Martinborough Community Board and Martinborough residents would have an opportunity to make submissions against it as advised by council in the community meetings they held last year about rates. Now, the Mayor had asked us in our previous meeting to clarify that with the Chief Executive. So immediately following our last meeting, Aidan and I and the chairs and deputies of Featherston and Greytown community boards, we actually met with Harry and Amanda over Skype. So it was not Skype, but Zoom. So yeah, quite quickly following our last meeting. it was, I mean, the chief executive confirmed immediately that an annual plan for 2022 would definitely be coming into the South Wairarapa District Council communities soon, allowing for the Martinborough Community Board and all the public to provide input. So since I've written this, obviously there has been some changes and things to that. Yeah, I just so we would definitely, when we went to that, so Pam, what you had said at our last meeting was actually correct. And I think that was what we really wanted to drill down on. So why we asked that question immediately around our opportunity for making submissions to the council. And I asked about attending your meeting. What do we need to attend the next council meeting to discuss this? And we were told it was definitely going to be, an annual plan was going to be being created for this year that would be coming out into the public to receive and would be open for submissions and to receive submissions against the annual plan 2022. So yeah. Now, but
that is happening.
So there's an annual plan that's going to be still coming.
A timeline was tabled yesterday. So if you looked at the agenda, you would see a timeline issued there with what engagement is occurring and when submissions are able to be heard.
It just didn't have any dates or anything on it, but
it was end of April as opposed to a specific date.
So we definitely will be seeing something coming through before the end of April. Yep. Okay.
Well, and that plan is there in the agenda, so have a read of that.
Okay, that's great then. And then the topic number 2 is the Memorial Square. So I've just made a note there about the Assets and Services meeting that I attended on the 1st of September 2021, as well of our recommendation around the building out of the shoulders on the pedestrian crossings at the square, Cambridge Road and Oxford Street, to mirror the crossings on Jellicoe and Kitchen Street. The Assets and Services Committee agreed that it was a good idea, and the request was put through to council. At the council meeting, it was advised that this would shortly be being looked at in the upcoming speed review. But again, we've now been advised that the speed review, can we make any decisions around the shoulders and the square and things like that outside of the speed review, considering we're not talking about 50 kilometres per hour even, we're not talking about those types of things, we're talking about shoulders on a pedestrian crossing, and we're talking about safety, which is something that keeps coming back to the board members, particularly around the pedestrian crossing directly outside here at Pukimane, cross over to the square, right by the Wheels Park, and now we're going back into actually getting dark again earlier, and lots of kids still being out on their scooters and bikes. So is there any way that we can look at getting any traction or movement with that, considering that it's been with council now for approximately 6 months and the speed review still isn't happening, or is happening, but not yet?
Yeah, I mean, I was in touch with Chair, I was in touch with Waka Kotahi today on the speed review, asking that question, when can we get the timing of the review even? And there is really there's no information. It's very, very frustrating. I share the frustration of that's been expressed in that, because a lot of the important decisions around rural speed and safety cascade down from that speed review. Tim, this particular request around pedestrian crossings, is that contingent on a result from the National Speed Review?
No, at the moment, the only activity affiliated to speed review is safety around schools. At the moment, there's no other indication with regard to any other roading or engineering infrastructure. For example, if we wanted to raise our pedestrian crossings or do work at black spot intersections, we would need to change our whole request. So the funding through Road to Zero at the moment is just straight out signage and possibly dropping speed around schools down to 30k. Like the Martinborough School, good example, heavy traffic bypass. Residual speed through there is probably at least 50k an hour. So we could drop that to 30k as part of the speed review, and probably even with flashing signs up there to really knock it home. But minor works like you was talking around the square, certainly not even linked to the speed review.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Tim.
So can I suggest that's a number one topic when you meet with Tim and the roading team regarding timings and importance and where it sits within that list?
Yeah, great. That's really fantastic because it does move on to the pedestrian crossings, which is my topic 3. Councillor Maynard?
No, that's exactly, I was just going to ask about that, Tim, when you were saying about around schools, and with the school being a heavy traffic bypass and even with the slow down, but a raised pedestrian crossing would certainly change things there, wouldn't it? Help people to slow down.
It would change two things. It would change the behaviour of the motorists, and it would also create a highway echo at night with heavy trucks bouncing over them.
Through you, Madam Chair, can I ask something?
Yeah.
Tim, I noticed that a number of the towns have put the 30k signs coming into the towns. Would putting a 30k sign coming around the square alleviate some of maybe the speed implications of somebody stepping out onto the two crossings that are mentioned there? Would that help that situation, or do you think that's not appropriate?
I think as part of the speed review, the square and probably the whole Union Jack blocks, you'd look at those as a environment, and that may even come down to a 30k area, maybe even 20k, because physically the speed through there is not high at the moment anyway. The probably highest speed on those all approaching streets would be Oxford Street down past the medical centre, fraught with risk.
So no, if I can answer that,
Only.
I can answer that. You can't just put up a different sign. It's illegal. Yeah, it's a very complicated consultative process to change the speed. That's why we try to do it all at once rather than individually.
Alex, do you know how the other towns that Pam had mentioned have been able to do it then? What 30 coming into their towns?
It might be that they've consulted with the community at expense specifically for that issue, unless they've got it's around the school, in which case they're able to do it through NZTA as a law.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So hopefully they just haven't changed the signs.
Right. Well, I'm happy then we'll move on to topic 4, Wharekapa Rest Home and the Wharekapa Trust. So if we could, I'll just keep topic 3 and we'll use that when we go through and have our conversations with Tim and Tim Stephen. Okay, so as you'll all be aware that the Wharekapa Rest Home, which was the last rest home in the South Wairarapa, closed on the 31st of March 2022. The Wharekapa Trust has assured the community that they will continue providing Meals on Wheels South Wairarapa wide. The Wharekapa Trust met with residents and asked the community what kinds of services we see Wharekapa should provide seniors and initiatives for the Wharekapa Trust to fund and provide those services. So at the time prior to the meeting and when this first became aware, I guess, to the community board, so we've offered our continued assistance to the Wharekapa board to help look at services focused towards Martinborough seniors and help them also with community engagement when they need it. So first thing we did was offer them help with running their community meeting if they needed help with that. So yeah, good.
If I could note too, and I assume you know that we allocated $6,000 towards continuation of Meals on Wheels yesterday, just to keep them supported in running their kitchen.
That's wonderful. Thank you. It's good to know. Thanks, Al.
And Madam Chair, I think we can't say it's the last rest home in South Wairarapa because what used to be Palliser Rest Home in Greytown is still going. It's still a rest home.
Oh, is it? I thought they were specifically for
so you.
Oh, okay. I'll get that corrected.
Did not say it's the last one.
Okay. So if we can move on to topic 5, the Waihinga Bridge, Martinborough State Highway 53. Nathan, I might just hand it straight over to you. Talk about. So you were invited to.
Local MP Kieran McAnulty and the Transport Minister Michael Wood were on site at the Waihinga Bridge. What were we talking? Sorry, 2 weeks ago, and discussing the future of the bridge, and Alex, the mayor, was there with us, telling them all about the faults and how it doesn't meet their safety requirements. We witnessed, I'm not sure, maybe 4, I guess you'd say near misses, or
I think there were 5 logging trucks plus agricultural and 2 near misses.
Yeah.
There, I think was the total.
By all accounts, they are keen to get things going. It is on a long list. So, but the wheels are in motion. Kieran McAnulty is pretty passionate about getting us a new bridge. So it's talk we might have some conversations with the Martinborough Business Association and just get something out there that lets people know that we are doing something about it, and other people are doing something about it as well. Do you have anything to add?
So Minister of Transport, he said that Waka Kotahi will look at, I think, 3 issues. Safety issues, the growth of the area and the resilience of the area relying on that, with regards to the closure of the bridge and flood events. Mayor Alex suggested that we write a letter to council. I was just sort of wondering as to whether, as a community, what we could perhaps go to speak to the Business Association, because over the last, they've come and spoken to us a number of times about their issues, but I'm wondering if, as a community, what we go and speak to the Business Association and pass on some of the information we gathered as a result of that meeting, and see if they could help collate put some information together to flesh out that letter that Ben would send to council and sort of look at those three topics that the Minister talked about: the safety issues, the growth and the resilience, and how they affect the businesses within Martinborough. And
So loss of
business,
revenue, yeah, all those things as well.
Travel costs.
all the safety issues that they experience with that bridge, whether it's Martinborough Transport or Colton's, or paying the Kershaw's for their staff, or paying the Kershaw's for their trucks to come and supply. So I think we could certainly help hold that information together.
Yeah, be great.
Can I offer comment as well? It's not just South Borough businesses. So it's not just Martinborough businesses, it's businesses from Featherston, Carston, Masterton. So it may be that you get a blanket approach to say all these businesses rely on coming to Martinborough for part of their business. So it becomes a bigger issue than just a Martinborough issue. You've got Warragul machinery coming down to do work and they can't get in. You've got producers in Featherston not able to get to Martinborough to take it to the supermarket. It's a bigger issue than just the MB name.
Yeah, but they'll know, the business association will know which of their suppliers can't get through, give us a good steer or track on where to go to ensure.
I'm just thinking of weight. You've got 5 business associations saying this is a problem. It's better than 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people employed in Featherston that come back here.
Yeah.
So the message from the Transport Minister is that funding has already been allocated for the next few years, and I think he said next funding round starts in 2024, which will run through to 2027, I think.
And it started consultation. It's starting now. I think there's an article in the paper, so the decision is then made and then it's allocated and approved. So it does take a long process.
I was just thinking that perhaps if the community board could help collate all that information to then push up to council.
The reason I wanted to come to council is the Minister and Kieran cannot influence or make a decision on roading through NZTA. So that they have to be at arm's length from the operations. However, the South Borough Council, can take it through to the region when we set our priorities on that RLTP, Regional Long-Term Plan on Transport. And then we, as the South Borough, can influence the other mayors and CEOs to say, will you admit this onto the priorities list? That's how it works. And there's 40-something priorities from Melling Link to, what's happening at the airport. There's lots of different transport funding things. We want to get it in there.
It's been a key issue for a long time.
And adding to the Waihinga Bridge, for that flood debris, I emailed Stefan today and he's had an update from Waikato, so there's going to be some more work happening to remove that flood debris.
Because it's still there.
Some of it is,
Yeah.
they're having trouble finding a disposal place for it, but they're going to go back in this weekend and do some more work on it. But it is a lot of it is still piled up on the side of the banks.
We can see how fast these flood events can happen as well, so
You don't want
it's still scary.
Stephen, is that wood any good for firewood?
It probably has stones and things in it, which I think is what makes a lot of fire,
Told it's really degraded too. So I don't think it is. I think it's really hard to burn, because they were going to bring it up to an adjacent property and burn it. And I was talking to them about that, and it's very difficult to burn.
Thank you. Sort the lines.
There are some.
There's
Certainly some people have been down there cutting it and taking it away for their own firewood, but that would be, it'd be a lot of work to generate firewood out of that.
Yeah.
It'd be hard work.
It's pretty messy.
Hard on the chains.
Thanks for following that up, Stephen.
All right.
Thanks for that update. Thanks as well, guys, around the bridge. So topics that I just had, Anzac 2022 now. Yeah, this was specifically around the flags, and just that I checked with Nathan, and we were going to be flying Easter Bunnings, Soldier and Warhorse flags again this year. Yeah, they're really beautiful, and they made I think a really lovely focal point last year as well. But there was an email, I don't know if everyone's seen it, that just came through today around Anzac services, and the Defence Force is not supporting Anzac services with Omicron in the communities. I don't know, I think that we will need to talk to the RSA maybe, or find out what that looks like. Do you know what it looks like for it?
There hasn't been a decision made yet. RSA are working on what they are able to do and what they need to do.
Yeah.
Ben, the clock's ticking.
Councillor Maynard, well,
Can I just say that no matter what it is, that April the 25th is still a very important day, and we should still make sure that those flags are up, because it doesn't change the fact that it's Anzac Day. As well, when I was reading that, I noticed that it did talk a lot about it being inside, but our dawn parade has always been held outside. So it could possibly be that we don't have something afterwards, but that we still could do the dawn parade, and rather than go right into the middle of the square, be around it. So there's actually more space for people. You'd be able to stay within your little bubbles with you if you bring your your children down with you, or like I think it could work because we do it outside and around the square. However, it really does come down to how the RSA feel about it. But as far as those gorgeous, amazing flags that represent to me, Anzac Day, I think they're just so beautiful. I think they should still be going up straight away anyway. If I could, I'd have them up from the start of March, seeing as we didn't have the fair. I'd have them up the whole time because they're so nice. But that's my thoughts anyway.
Nathan?
So yeah, they will have to come down fairly quick after, because the fair flags will be going up 3-4 days after. So yeah,
so that's right, because Martinborough Fair are going to be having Martinborough Fair here in Martinborough, which is lovely again, but it is
30th,
yeah, but it's a very fast.
Yeah, on Anzac grades, grades are cancelled theirs.
Okay.
Lake Ferry making a decision, but Featherston will be continuing with an outdoor one.
Okay, so Greystown are cancelled and Lake Ferry
awaiting.
Okay.
So it's all over the place.
Yeah. Okay, well, no, I mean, it's always been quite well attended here in Martinborough, so yeah, if you could just keep us all abreast of that, then it would be fantastic. Thank you. Okay. And I guess just the final thing was if there was any update regarding Three Waters.
I could talk for hours.
Oh, great. Great.
However, there's a pretty complete report in yesterday's agenda for council, and online we Dougal List, who's an independent Three Waters advisor for the Wellington Regional Councils, answered questions, specific questions. So everything you want to know where we're at the moment with Three Waters and where the government is at is on there, which is we're not quite sure. If we want to make a synopsis, they're still drip feeding information to us. Yeah.
So within yesterday's council meeting, is there a report on Three Waters? Is there? Or?
There's a report on where the government's at with there's a report on the questions we asked for clarification, the responses we got, the time frame, what's involved with regards to We're Better Off funding, and then there's a question and answer session on what that means for us and what information we have available to go to the public with. And we also compared with, there's only one council actually asking the public, because it's so airy-fairy on the answers we're getting. However, I think we're going to, in the next week or so, depending on what comms can do, start a questionnaire going on what to get but if you read that report, and you'll see how difficult it would be to actually drill down on facts to ask questions on.
Would that report that's on the agenda, would we be able to pull that out and put that up on the community board Facebook page?
It's, how many pages, Stefan?
I think it was 500 pages on the agenda, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
600.
I'll just send it to you separately now.
just awesome.
It's public.
Yeah, it's in public, but
No, I just thought
Yeah.
I mean, Mel was asking the question, so I wondered if we could get that out onto the
And then we can share it.
cool, we'll do that. But I do recommend you go in and look at Dougal List, who was on Zoom, who was answering questions specifically.
really good.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Did anyone have any questions for me on the chair report? No. And thank you very much, everybody, for being here. There's no further business, so I declare this meeting closed.
Thanks, Derek.